In the bustling streets of Manila, a young boy named Miguel sat on the corner of a cracked sidewalk with his worn-out guitar resting on his lap. His loyal dog Buddy lay beside him, tail wagging slowly as if keeping rhythm with every strum. The city was alive with jeepneys honking, vendors shouting, and people hurrying through the chaos. Yet a small circle of strangers paused to listen. Miguel's fingers danced across the strings with a natural grace, producing music that felt far greater than the humble instrument he held. His eyes shone with quiet determination, though his clothes told the story of hardship. Beside him, Buddy raised his head and let out a soft howl, blending perfectly with the melody. The harmony between boy and dog was so unusual that people began recording with their phones, amazed at the scene unfolding before them. Lola Rosa, Miguel's grandmother, stood a few steps back, her wrinkled hands clutching a small rosary as tears filled her eyes. She had always believed her grandson's music could change his life, but watching him perform here, surrounded by strangers who were captivated by his sound, filled her heart with both pride and hope. The smell of roasted peanuts and grilled street food lingered in the air, mixing with the sound of laughter, but all of it faded when Miguel closed his eyes and poured his soul into the song. In that moment, the streets of Manila became his stage and Buddy his perfect partner. Miguel's journey took him far from the crowded streets of Manila to the busy port of Cebu, where he and Buddy prepared for the next step of their dream. The salty breeze from the sea carried with it the smell of fresh fish and the chatter of vendors selling snacks to travelers. Miguel clutched his old guitar tightly, its wood scratched and worn from years of practice, but it was his most precious possession. Buddy trotted happily beside him, sniffing the air with excitement, unaware of the challenges ahead. As the ferry began to move, Miguel found a quiet corner on deck where he could look out at the endless ocean. The waves shimmered under the afternoon sun, and the sound of seagulls echoed overhead. He strummed a soft tune, a lullaby his mother used to sing before she passed, and Buddy rested his head on Miguel's knee as though listening intently. Other passengers stopped to watch the boy, their tired faces softening as the music floated through the salty wind. For Miguel, the song was not just practice. It was a prayer of hope, a promise to himself that one day his music would lift him out of poverty and into a brighter future. His grandmother's words replayed in his mind, telling him that dreams, no matter how far, were worth chasing. As Cebu faded in the distance, Miguel whispered to Buddy that the next stop was America, where their biggest stage awaited. The dog barked as if agreeing, filling Miguel's heart with courage. Backstage at America's Got Talent, Miguel's hands trembled as he clutched his guitar. The bright lights, buzzing cameras, and the chatter of contestants filled the air, each performer dreaming of their moment on stage. Some of the other kids glanced at him and giggled, whispering about his old, scratched guitar and the little dog wagging its tail at his side. Miguel lowered his eyes, embarrassed, but Buddy pressed against his leg as if to remind him he wasn't alone. A kind smile suddenly broke through the tension. Sofia Vergara leaned down, her eyes lighting up as she petted Buddy. "He's beautiful," she said warmly, then looked at Miguel. "Be confident, you've got something special." Her words planted courage in his heart. A crew member called his name, and Miguel took a deep breath. He could hear the roar of the audience on the other side of the curtain, their energy pulsing like a wave. Simon Cowell's voice carried through the speakers, introducing the next act. Miguel's knees shook, but he stepped forward, guitar strap over his shoulder, Buddy trotting faithfully at his side. As the curtains parted, the stage opened before him, blinding with light and filled with expectant eyes. Miguel swallowed hard, remembering the streets of Manila, where he first played for strangers who believed in his music. This was just another street, only bigger, brighter, and filled with more hearts to touch. With Buddy wagging his tail beside him, Miguel walked into the spotlight, ready to let his music speak. Miguel stood center stage, the massive AGT audience watching with curiosity as he adjusted the strap of his battered guitar. Buddy sat obediently at his side, ears perked and tail swaying as if he already knew what was about to happen. The judges exchanged glances, some skeptical of the boy's appearance, but Miguel closed his eyes and began to strum. The first notes were gentle, almost fragile, like a whisper carried through the vast hall. Then his fingers moved faster, blending a traditional Filipino folk melody with a rhythm that built into something powerful and raw. The sound filled the theater, cutting through every doubt in the room. Just as the crowd leaned in closer, Buddy lifted his head and let out a soulful howl, perfectly in tune with the music. Gasps and cheers erupted instantly, the harmony between boy and dog so unusual and beautiful that it felt magical. Miguel sang softly, his voice trembling at first, but growing strong with each lyric, telling a story of struggle, hope, and love. The audience rose to their feet, clapping and shouting, unable to contain their amazement. Simon Cowell leaned forward, his eyes glistening with rare emotion, while Sophia covered her mouth in awe. Then, with one decisive slam of his hand, Simon hit the golden buzzer. Golden confetti rained from above, swirling around Miguel and Buddy like a blessing from the heavens. Tears welled in Miguel's eyes as he hugged his dog tightly, realizing that in this single moment, his entire life had changed forever. When Miguel and Buddy finally arrived in Los Angeles, the world around them felt like a dream come true. The city was nothing like the narrow alleys of Manila or the busy port of Cebu. Towering skyscrapers touched the sky, neon signs glowed even in the daytime, and people hurried past with coffee cups and cell phones in hand. Miguel held tightly to his guitar case, trying not to look overwhelmed, while Buddy trotted proudly beside him with his tail wagging, as if he owned the streets. They settled into a small hostel near Hollywood, where the walls were thin and the air smelled faintly of fried food from the downstairs kitchen. Every night, Miguel sat by the window with his guitar, practicing quietly while gazing at the glowing city lights that seemed to whisper promises of success. Sometimes Buddy would curl up at his feet, and other times he would tilt his head back and howl gently, blending with Miguel's chords like a faithful duet partner. Miguel felt nervous about the competition, worried about whether people would laugh at his old guitar or the fact that he had brought his dog on such a big stage. But then he would look into Buddy's eyes and find courage. The city might have been strange and intimidating, but with his music and his dog, Miguel felt he carried a piece of home with him. He knew tomorrow would change his life, and for the first time, Los Angeles didn't feel so far from Manila.